Welcome to another episode of Stupid Publishing News, where I talk about the stupid crap that people are trying to pull in publishing this week. Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you're here. If it's your first time here, hi, it's great to meet you. I'm John Hartness. I'm the founder, publisher, and editor-in-chief of Falstaff Books. We're an independent press based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also a freelance editor and the author of over 40 novel-length works, including The Black Knight Chronicles, Bubba the Monster Hunter, Quincy Harker Demon Hunter, and many others. And I don't really have a segment called Stupid Publishing News, but I probably should, because it seems like lately, every time I turn around, somebody's doing something else absolutely ludicrous, abjectly, brutally, pants on your head stupid. And this time, it's our buddy James Daunt, CEO of Barnes & Noble. That's right. I am here to announce publicly that the chief executive officer of the largest bookstore in the United States can kiss my fuzzy ass. Dear Mr. Daunt, I'm in Charlotte. Please feel free to come look me up. I'll meet you at any Barnes & Noble in town so you can kiss my ass. Here's why, gentle viewer. Here's why James Daunt needs to hop his British booty on a plane over the pond and come pucker up on my posterior. In an interview with NBC, Mr. Daunt announced that he'd be fine with Barnes & Noble stocking AI-generated books. In fact, he said, there's probably already AI books on the shelves in Barnes & Noble. How are we going to know? So, why not just open the floodgates and let AI slop come all over our shelves, just like, the toys and puzzles and keychains and other garbage that isn't books that kind of sent the stores spiraling into friggin' bankruptcy before you took over. Hello, Gandalf. Gandalf gets upset when I rant, so he's sitting down here just meowing up at me piteously. Jenna Bush Hager was interviewing Mr. Daunt, and Jenna has come out as an avid reader and lover of books. And she asked him, so what about AI? And she kind of said, I kind of heard a rumor that you're down with AI. And his quote was, yes, I actually have no problem selling any book as long as it doesn't masquerade or pretend to be something that it isn't, and that it has an essential quality to it, and that the customer, the reader, wants it, he replied. So long as an AI-written book says it's an AI-written book and doesn't pretend to be something else and isn't ripping off somebody else, as long as that's clearly stated and the customer wants to buy it, then we will stock them. Translation from bookstore CEO to normal human being. If some jagoff will pay me money for it, I will stock any stupid thing I want on my shelves if it can make me a nickel. I don't care about quality. I don't care about readers. I don't care about writers or cover artists or any other creatives. I care that there is one person in the world dumb enough to buy this crap. And if so, I'll put it on my shelves. Because let me lay this out for you, Jimmy D. Let me just put it all in front of you. It's all ripping off somebody else, you moron. It's built on the back of stolen books, you douche. None of the generative AI crap that's floating out there can be made without ripping somebody off, because the well is poisoned, you idiot. They taught the Gen AI bot goofuses. He's really worried now because I'm ranting. He's all come up to be like, dude, what's the matter? The AI bot machine Terminator T 50s that are creating these garbage books were trained on us, real writers, real people with real feelings. Well, pause for floof. There you go, buddy. There's no possible way. All of the big thingies that create AI, and every time I try to actually use the right term, somebody comments. Some AI apologist comes in the comments and says that I don't know anything because I'm using the wrong term. So some AI BS generator, they're all built on stolen IP. They're all built on the backs of people like me. Now I have a big back because I'm a big boy. But that don't mean I want your friggin' water hogging, flipping, environment destroying, job wrecking, computer bull stealing my work. I don't want to carry you on my big old redneck back. If I were doing my typical grumpy Uncle John stuff, I'd say, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. But I'd be lying, because I am mad. I'm mad that after selling a couple 100,000 books over 17 years, Barnes & Noble won't stock my stuff unless I go specifically to a store and convince that store's manager to stock my stuff. But they're saying that they will stock the AI generated garbage that was trained by stealing my stuff. And you know how I can unequivocally say that these big AI BS machines were trained on my stuff? Because they're paying me. Because I'm in the Anthropic lawsuit. I'm part of a group of 500,000 works that we're suing frickin' Anthropic for. So yeah, when I say they're built by stealing my stuff, I'm not exaggerating. They're built off stealing my stuff. And hey, you know what thieves do, Jimmy D? Thieves lie, you jackass. So yeah, you can put all the AI check marks you want on your little forms, but do you think some schmuck hammering on a computer and thinking that by creating a prompt for somebody to barely string coherent sentences together in a BS, in a pile of poop wrapped in book plates, is going to be honest about using AI? No! You know how I know people are lying about whether or not they use AI? Because you can go on the internet every friggin' week and see YouTube videos of author caught using AI, author caught using AI, author crashes out because they got caught using AI, author denies using AI, but somebody plugged the right prompt into Midjourney and created the exact same stupid cover. That's how I know people are going to lie about it, because they're already lying about it, you moron. I'm pissed. I don't know if that got through in the beginning of this, in the first 9 minutes of me yelling and swearing a little more than normal, at least for YouTube, at the camera. I'm pissed. I'm pissed because it's bad enough that bookstores make the lion's share of money whenever a book is sold. And yes, I promise you, that's how it breaks down. The bookstore makes 40 or so percent on every book sold. The publisher usually makes about 20%. And that 20% gets split with the author. So the publisher and author make about 10% each on the sale of a book. The bookstore makes about 40%. And the distributor and the printer, they make the other roughly 40%. That's how the math really works. I'm sorry for all of you who hate publishers and think that we steal all your money, but we make about 10% on a print book sold in a bookstore. You know how I know that? Because that's exactly how I price my books. There's a compensation calculator on Ingram Spark. And when I'm setting the price for a book, I put in the book, the number of pages, the format, the type of paper, the cover, and then I raise and lower the price until I'm getting back 20% per copy sold, because I pay my authors 10% per print copy sold. So when you buy a copy of a Falstaff book through Barnes & Noble, or please God, your local independent bookstore, I highly recommend doing that instead, because screw Barnes & Noble and screw James Daunt. We're making 10%, and the author's making 10%. So on a $20 book, that means that $4 goes to the publisher, of which $2 goes to the author, and $16 goes to somebody else. But anyway, bookstores don't exist without us. They don't exist without you and me, without writers and publishers. And if they continue to try to exist without us, well, Barnes & Noble is the largest bookstore in the United States. Now, I feel fairly certain that James Daunt does not subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you do, hey, Jimmy, piss off. I feel fairly confident that he's never going to see this video. But if you do, hey, Jimmy, piss off. So I feel like I'm not shooting myself in the foot by saying these things loudly, publicly, and slightly profanely. But too many authors feel like they can't exist without Barnes & Noble. They're wrong. It would be harder, but you can. I have made a moderately successful living for the past 17 years. That's not true. I've made a moderately successful living for the past 11 years off my book sales. Prior to that, I had other jobs. But for 11 years, I have supported my family without a Barnes & Noble deal, without mass distribution through multiple bookstores. So you can absolutely make a living without Barnes & Noble. You have to work a little harder, and you have to work differently. But they can't exist without us. I say the same thing to writers. I've said it to you, maybe not you personally, but if you've watched a lot of my videos, you've probably heard me say the same thing about publishers and writers. As a publisher, I can't exist without writers, so you as the writer have the power in every negotiation. If you're willing to walk away from a deal, then good on you. I had an author decline a contract just last week. No hard feelings. He was probably correct to decline the contract. Our distribution setup doesn't really work for what his goals as a published author are. And I wish him not a single bit of ill will. He's still a buddy. I'll still hang out with him. Just doesn't work. But we can do the same thing to Barnes & Noble. I can't, because they already don't carry my crap. Uncle Steve can, Stephen King can, Nora Roberts can. And I'm not calling for authors to try and figure out how to leverage themselves into a boycott of Barnes & Noble. I'm asking publishers and agents to do it. I'm asking everyone who's got a bigger footprint and more authors under their belt with more stroke to nut up and fight back. If you are someone who makes your living off bookstore sales, then maybe it's bad for you if James Daunt will put AI-generated crap on the shelves right next to the books that you've worked your ass off to produce. Because that's what it's going to boil down to. It's going to boil down to the garbage that has yet to be touched by human hands and stuff that a human being actually created. I've seen some authors on threads today really kind of sweating that this probably means that publishers are just going to start using AI to generate books without authors. And when I saw that, my gut reaction was, nah, who's gonna? And then I thought for a second, who's gonna say that whoever the publisher is that owns Vampire Diaries doesn't feed them 25 Vampire Diaries books and begins to crap out new AI generated Vampire Diaries books? Because those books have always been work for hire, and the publisher owns the IP. They could do it. Somebody could do it with any wildly popular piece of intellectual property if there's enough material to train a bot on how to write in that style. You could AI generate Chuck Tingle books in a heartbeat. There's a million of them out there. They're short, they're fast, and they do kind of follow a formula as a rule. Chuck Tingle is not AI generated. Chuck Tingle is a goddamn national treasure. And if you come for Chuck Tingle, we write at dawn. But he's got a massive catalog and a very distinctive style, and you could train an AI to make Chuck Tingle books if you wanted to. You could train AI to mimic any distinctive author voice. So yeah, maybe this is some evil scheme for big New York publishers to generate garbage AI and get it stocked in Barnes and Noble. What I really think it is, though, because I don't think that's what it is, what I really think it is a man in his 60s who doesn't really understand the technology, doesn't understand the pitfalls of the technology, and has been duped by the tech bros in his CEO meetups or whatever. And he hasn't had enough real writers beating him about the head and shoulders over this. I don't believe that James Daunt is a terrible human being. I think that he's done wonders for the book market in the United States and for Barnes and Noble, because he's kind of resurrected what was a dying brand. And we need Barnes and Noble. We need big bookstore chains in the US. We also need tons of independent bookstores, and I'm very heartened that indie bookstores are opening up all over the place all the time. I just found a new one on Threads that's a mobile bookstore in Charlotte. I'm thrilled to meet up with them and chat about how we can work together. They said right there in their intro that they're staunchly anti-AI. And I responded on Threads saying, hey, I'm an independent publisher right here in Charlotte, and I'm also staunchly anti-AI. Let's hang out. Let's be friends. But I don't think James Daunt's a terrible human being. I think he's an uninformed human being. And I think he's a human being, an uninformed human being with a lot of influence and power, and that makes him incredibly dangerous. Evil people are less dangerous than stupid and ignorant people, because there are fewer truly evil people than there are stupid and ignorant people. And I believe in this case, James Daunt is ignorant of the pitfalls of even opening the door to AI-generated garbage in Barnes and Noble. I believe that he hasn't thought that people will lie about whether or not they use AI, despite the fact that they do it all the time. They produce AI-generated crap without telling anybody, without owning their garbage. Because when they own their AI garbage, we slag them for it. And rightfully so. And I'm not ever going to apologize for fighting against AI. And if you're one of the, it's already here, so we may as well embrace it people, you can kiss my ass. Every inch. It's going to take you a minute. You better pack a lunch. Because you're part of the problem. If you're willing to just sit back and let it happen, then you're the guy holding the camera while somebody gets their ass beat in the street instead of stepping up to help. So James Daunt has stepped in it. And social media is exploding, and media is exploding about this. And hopefully he will issue a statement in the next couple of days saying, I was wrong. I've had my eyes open. People have educated me. And I now know that AI generated books are garbage and we will never allow them in Barnes and Noble. And if we find something that was created with generative AI, either in the cover or in the text, we will remove it from distribution in our stores. I hope that's what he's going to say. I don't have a lot of faith that that's what's going to happen because let's face it, 60-plus-year-old white men don't have the greatest track record of admitting when they're wrong, and they don't have the greatest track record of owning their mistakes. But I'm going to hold out hope that someone somewhere is working to educate Jimmy D and explain to him why he should never allow AI-generated slop on his shelves and why he shouldn't allow AI-generated art on promo materials in his store and why he shouldn't allow generative AI within 1,000 feet of bookstores, churches, schools, or playground. No, wait, that's a different restraining order, but still, you get what I'm saying. I hope that someone who he trusts and respects is telling him how egregiously stupid this take is. And I hope that he'll issue some big public statement acknowledging his error. And if he does, then I will heartfeltly, yeah, that's not a word. I will enthusiastically retract my demand that he kiss my ass. But until then, get on a plane, Jimmy, and pucker up. Because if you're going to let AI garbage in your store, well, ain't going to be no more dollars coming to you from me. And when in doubt, you can kiss my ass. If you would like to support my efforts in getting the CEO of Barnes & Noble to get on a plane and pucker up for my posterior, you can give this a like. You can leave me a comment telling me which CEO you want to kiss your butt. I definitely just opened myself up for a whole world of hurt in the comments there, didn't I? You can subscribe, ring the bell to get notified. And if you want more rants like this more often and you want your name on the wall so you can be associated with my violent opinions, you can become a member of the channel and join all these awesome people who, they're really just here for the cats. But as you saw, even when I'm screaming, they ain't scared. So I'm sure I'll be back soon with more publishing industry stupidity. But till next time, bye.